General Ha, thank you so much for your service. You're taking on a very big job, and we're very grateful for it. In response to additional pre-hearing questions, do you discuss the collateral benefits for the protection of commercial networks outside the defense industrial base, which come from NSA's engagement with the private sector? In a time of war, do you feel confident that our civilian digital infrastructure, to include emergency services, can be sufficiently protected by the current commercial providers, or are there adjustments to your authorities needed to use NSA and cybercom capabilities to protect things like hospital networks, public utilities, and other critical infrastructure?
Senator, I think that the national cybersecurity strategy starts to lay out that framework in terms of how we collaborate across the U.S. government with state and local partners. And I think NSA will have a critical role to play, particularly with our teammates in DHS, the FBI, to be able to put us in the best position as a nation to be able to do that defense. But I do believe there's work to be done.
I would imagine some of that work would include what happened in Guam most recently.
And Senator, I think it's a really good example because understanding what the threat is and now being able to inform that threat, and NSA's role from the National Manager of National Security Systems will certainly be at that table to partner with all the other elements of the U.S. government with INDOPACOM as the element that's responsible from a Department of Defense perspective to understand the threat and then be able to work solutions collaboratively with both the local all the way through the other federal partners.
I think it's just a very apt example, because if the civilian-owned infrastructure is taken down, you can't complete operations, especially if it's critical infrastructure in the United States. And without the review and analysis of what risks we have and what vulnerabilities we have, we will not be prepared to protect, defend, and be able to continue to use all the infrastructure we need in the United States to project worldwide.
Senator, if confirmed, I look forward to partnering with our teammates in DHS and also within the elements in the department as we look at defense critical infrastructure.
Thank you. As a member of this committee and the Armed Services Committee, I've seen firsthand oftentimes it is intelligence relationships and military relationships with other countries, sometimes developed confidentially, which produce some of the biggest results in our bilateral relationships. Our ability to develop robust coalitions is crucial to safeguarding our national interests, but when we operate together, sometimes we're only as strong as our weakest link. Being mindful that we are in an open setting, can you discuss any work that you've done to date to raise the cybersecurity acumen of our partners, and what types of enhanced cooperation would you like to have advance if confirmed?
Senator, I do have a lot of experience in this area. Previously was the commander of the Cyber National Mission Force when we initiated the Defend Forward operations, which based off authorities from Congress and then from the executive branch. This allowed us to now go and be able to partner with other nations to be able to identify threats on their networks collaboratively and really allow us to do two things simultaneously: put pressure on one of the other nation states that were attempting to influence that nation, and also allow them to get a deeper understanding of our tradecraft and how we do that every day. Additionally, I think what we have seen as part of the overall coalition to support Ukraine is a collaboration of nations that has had to do that together on networks that also we had to spend significant time with European Command and NATO to ensure that those networks that we're using collaboratively with each of those partners are cyber secure.
An example, just visited some of our assets in Portugal, and they had recent cyber attack that put NATO confidential materials at risk. That country still hasn't reached its 2% investment in military. One recommendation would be to really encourage our allies to choose that their investment will be in cyber capacity or in space capacity or in new intelligence capacity that's helpful for the alliances. Is that something you will endeavor to do?
Senator, we'll certainly, we have a great partnership with General Cavoli today. We'll certainly work very closely with General Cavoli on what capabilities the alliance needs.
Thank you. And then last, in last year's NDAA, I established and expanded in this year's NDA a scholarship program for college students to gain education in cybersecurity and digital services with an ensuing service obligation to the Department of Defense or the IC. Do I have your commitment, if confirmed as NSA Director, you will welcome these students, once cleared, as part of your dedicated and trained workforce and do everything you can to support the Cyber Academy?
Absolutely, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Lynn. I also think you raise a very interesting point about other ways that our NATO allies could get to those requisite investments and frankly, might actually be more valuable than another 50 soldiers.
Correct, which is why I wanted to highlight it to the future NSA Director, because he can lead that effort. It's also a way to project power with countries that want to align with us, that have enormous potential, like India. So military sales is typical the way we project power, but you can also do it through development of new capabilities in cyber, in space, in future technologies, with a different kind of industrial base.
I think very good point. Senator Ossoff.